Well, I got some good news for you today.
Good.
I'm not a consultant.
You said you were a consultant.
Just so you know, I'm not a consultant. Because it costs $3,000 for the first day and $1,000 every day thereafter. I remember I went and talked to a group like that and asked, well, what do you charge? And that's what they charge. Well, anyway, the point is, I don't need to be a consultant because you live here, you know, your ministry's here, and you know more than probably any consultant that would come here about your own community. But I would like to, you know, my roots from Memphis, Tennessee, home of the blues, you know that? You ever heard of that place? And so, you know, as a teenager, I used to write songs and stuff like that and play my guitar. And so I wrote a song about Rethinking Church, because we've had that program for a while in the United Methodist Church. It hadn't completely died out, but it was very popular a few years ago. But I always liked that. It's catchy, Rethink Church, you know. So I wrote a song, and if I can get this tuned up, it goes, as they say, something like this. You know, something like this. It's time to look around today, hearing the cries and find a way. Rethink church and boldly say, God's alive, God's alive. It's time to speak to every day, stories of hope that will engage, singing our songs from every stage. God's alive, God's alive, God's alive. God's alive, God's alive, God's alive, God's alive. It's time to go beyond the walls, courage to change and take a fall, daring to risk and shock to all. God's alive, God's alive. It's time to follow faithfully, being the church that we need. Witness to this so the world can see. God's alive, God's alive, God's alive. This part singing. God's alive, God's alive, God's alive, God's alive. Sing it. God's alive, God's alive, God's alive, God's alive. I'll say it. It's time to look around today, hearing the cries and find a way. It's time to speak to every age, stories of hope that will engage. It's time to go beyond the walls, courage to change and take a fall. It's time to follow faithfully, being the church that we can be, being the church that we can be. God's alive, God's alive, God's alive, God's alive. Sing it again. God's alive, God's alive, God's alive, God's alive. One more. God's alive, God's alive, God's alive, God's alive. Woo! Turn this off, so we won't play again. God's alive. Let's go through the word. That's why I gave you the word. You start singing it. You probably thought, he gave us the words to sing with him, but I'm glad you did. It's a little tricky in places, though. But I just want us to look at these words and let that sort of guide our discussion a little bit this morning. It's time to look around today, hearing the cries and find a way. Is this my water, or is this yours? Is this?
That's your water.
This one. Hear the cries to find a way. Rethink church and boldly say. I mean, that's the basis of the church to me. It's not, we do lots of things, but the basis of this ministering to people. You live in this community. You hear the cries. You know the needs. Of course, we have TVs too, don't we? We have everything, so we're hearing cries from all over the world. And luckily, we're United Methodist, and we can respond to those because we're a connectional church, and we got some and some core, and we can really get it all out there. But the reason we have local churches is we can do it locally too. You can hear the cries of people in the Northridge area and respond to those cries and find a way to help them. That to me is our most basic call, is to reach out to people in need, hurting people, showing compassion, know your people, know your community. I'm not a consultant, you know. You don't have to be a consultant to say something like that, do you? It's just, you must read your Bible, Kimball, of course. And that's what it's about. Hearing the cries of people that are hurting and stepping out with compassion. And you know the meaning of the word compassion. Kum and pate. Kum is with, sounds like with, sort of like comb, with, kum, with. Pate is to suffer. So compassion is to suffer with. Really, I know you're thinking of Bill Clinton. I feel your pain. Remember you used to say that when he was running for president? But if he's serious about that, if those politicians are serious, that's good to feel people's pain. That's what compassion is about. I'm going to go quickly because I really want to get toward the end. I know we don't have a long time. It's time to speak to every age, stories of hope that will engage, singing our songs from every stage. Oh, here we go. Every age. Now, Joseph, he already knows how much I love him and how much I'm putting my stamp of approval on this church. I like you. I like the feeling. This is my first time to really be here and preach with you, but it's just a good feeling. But I don't see a lot of young families and a lot of... No. I come from Claremont. We're the same thing. Active church, good church. Right next to the seminary, blah, blah, stuff, college students around and all that stuff, but they're not around us that much. The statistic is we're 58 to 60 years old in average in the United Methodist Church now. So, that's beginning to sound younger than I know to me every day. 58, 60 years old. But in America, it's like 30-something, that's the average age. And we're 20 years behind or ahead of what we call the curve. We're just not attracting those young people like we should. But it's not about just young people. It's not about children. And we love children, and that's why Pam always, if the church will let us, we want to go in and work with the children as well. And Pam does that so well. And they always ask, well, where did you get the training? I know your husband went over to seminary, but how did you? She said, I just had 4 babies and raised them and sat on their beds at night and told them stories, and that's it. That's my training. Of course, because we're a good United Methodist church, she had some training and did lab school teaching for a while, which means she taught other teachers how to teach. And when I started this ministry, I kind of, would you work just with me, and not serve the whole conference and all the other churches so well. So, but she loves children, and we believe so much in it. But every age. Okay, let's look. We have the builders. Builders, that means you were born, what's builders? 45, you were born before 45. Hold up your hand, all you builders. We're builders. And that's a good word. We're builders.
Sure means old.
No, we built this. We know how to fill out pledge cards and all that stuff, I go to some churches, and at one time I thought, this is my future. I'm going to go to all retirement churches. But it didn't happen that way, but went to a few in Arizona, the Sun City group, church was booming, choir, 70 people. The ushers were all red coats, everybody had a coat alike, and they had it going. Fill out those pledge cards. And they know how to do church. You builders know how to do church. Thank goodness, But there's got to be a future there somewhere. We got to teach the others how to do church too, and be so loyal and faithful as the builders. And then, of course, you have the group, the boomers, and I think we're doing pretty well boomers too, in a way. That's 1946 to 1964. We got any boomers in the room? Oh, see, good. See, we're doing okay. We're hanging on there pretty good. And my daughter coming, I don't know if she's a boomer. She was born, I guess, no, she was born in 65 or 66 or something like that. But boomers. And then the busters, which sometimes we call Generation X, 65 to 83. Any busters in the room at all? All right, good. Of course, you pay them to come, don't you? No, I know they're here because they want to be here, but that's what it is. But then the bridgers, we call it. All the builders, the boomers, the busters, the bridgers, and I know they're called the millennials also. They're also called Generation Y. They're also called Internet Generation. So lots of names. I think we usually hear millennials today more than anything. But they said the bridgers because they bridged the centuries, 20th century with the 21st century. So there's where we are. But I'm so worried about those young people and those young adults. And I can only tell you through my reading and through my experience, music is very important, attracting people like that. Because music is just, I think you all loved music growing up, didn't you? It's not like, we love music too, but it's such a part of your life when you're younger. Like right now, I don't know what the #1 song in America is. There was a time in my life, they don't have top 4. They don't have that stuff. But there was a time in my life I could always tell you what the #1 song in the nation was. Because I just listened to the radio and I knew that stuff, Huh?
You only had 5 then.
You only had 5 top songs.
5 songs.
On the hit parade?
Yeah, the hit parade.
Remember the hit parade? Snooky Lance. Anybody remember Snooky Lance? He's a Tennessee boy, isn't he? Snooky Lance.
Snooky Lance.
Wasn't he a Tennessee boy?
I don't know.
I think we're in And but music is such a part, and service. I love it, the encore celebration we're kind of having today with all the people back, because it shows. But young adults, I think they like to be challenged to serve. They want to do something, thank you for sitting and listening to my sermon today. And it was okay, Kimball, but now what do we do? I think it's important that we challenge them and give them something to do, and challenge them in leadership programs. That's very important, because they are leaders. But we've got to train them. We builders, we boomers, we got to help them out a little bit. Reverend Lufkin Weems, the professor at Wesley Seminary, that's in Washington, D.C., said there's no future for the UMC unless it can reach younger people and more diverse people. Although I'm always proud of United Methodist Church and our diversity. I know we're not filling all the churches to the hilt, but we've got diversity. This used to be, I guess, the Los Angeles district. I keep wanting to call it. It's the North District, but I've heard we have like 11 different languages in our churches in this district. And there might be more than that.
This was Santa Barbara.
This used to be Santa Barbara District.
Yeah.
That's right. They cut off Santa, but now it's North District. I know. So anyway, that makes me proud that we do that. That we have services in different languages, and some old Southern boys sometimes even try to preach in Spanish, don't we, Mark? I tried it. I was so pathetic, but they just smile. I preached at the Elmosias, and they just smiled and accepted me. Waited for me to, it's Buenos dias, monsieur. I still read my upper room in El Absento Alto in Spanish, trying to be. But when I get on the street and they go muy rapido, I just want to. But I'm proud that we welcome people like that and try to have churches and pastors to help those people, because a lot of churches, that's too much time and too much money involved and not enough people, and it doesn't pay for itself and all that stuff, and they don't get it, So anyway, speak to every age, stories of hope that will engage, singing our songs from every stage. We got to do that. We really make an effort to do that. It's time to go beyond the walls. Courage to change and take a fall. Daring to risk and shout to all, God's alive. God's alive. Now that's, we're talking about thinking outside the box, going beyond the walls, courage to change and take a fall. That does take, I can look at the pastor and say, how there's always that little, I'm going to try something new, and I'm going to see how this works, and I hope they like it, and I hope, but of course a lot of it's up to you, being open to that sort of thing, and thinking, well, I like it the old way, or I like it, and you think, why try something new when the ones that like it are here, and you're trying to do something new for the people who aren't here? Explain to me, how do you do that? How do you think, well, I think it could, if we think outside the walls a little bit and outside the box, and I think you're Christian people, and you are open, and you don't mind trying a few things. I've been in churches, and a lot of the senior people say, Kimball, I don't mind if we try something new. I don't know how to say this, but sometimes they're saying to me, but I don't want the whole rug yanked out from under me, I don't want you to sing songs I never heard of, I understand that to me, I grew up in an old traditional church in Memphis, and one of those, when it was booming, 1,000 people, 2,000 people, 3,000 people, 4,000 people, old St. Luke's in Memphis, and we were the largest church in the Memphis Conference. And of course, we had a nice organ and a nice big choir, and I grew up with that tradition. But what was happening in Memphis in the 50s was this new music called rock and roll, and the young people wanted to get into it a little bit. Now, we just didn't jump right into that stuff, and we didn't all of a sudden have drums in the choir loft or something like that. But change comes, doesn't it? And sometimes it's hard to digest that. But be open to change, and let your pastor and the leaders of the church lead you into that. Now, I was in a church just the other day. I'm not going to mention names, but I walked in and it was completely dark, except for the stage, and there were lights, like stage lights, boom. And so the band kicked off, and everybody stood up, and we stood up for another song, and another song, about 3 or 4 songs, about 20 minutes singing, and there was no liturgy at all, nobody to come out and say, the Lord is with you, and God bless you, and thank you for it. It was just boom music, and it happened, and I don't know. I didn't feel like it was worshipful. I like the drums. I like rock and roll, but it's just, there's something that's got to, liturgy to me is an important part of the service. And there's a time where you get to respond and say things and come back. And I like that. So it's very difficult. It says, I read this, which is stronger, your urge to grow, our urge to grow, or our resistance to change? Think about that. Is our urge to grow stronger than our resistance to change? So, I'm not a consultant, all right? I don't really know all the answers to that. I just know I've been on the road for 38 years. And before that, I did pastoring. And so I've had that experience, and I see changes. But I see the world change as well. And I see, I'm out there with Claremont. I live next door to John Cobb, if you don't know John. He's the process theology guy, you know. But he's right. You know, things are in process, and things do change, and God's relationship to the world changes. Bye-bye, Karen. Good to see you today. Yeah, I understand. Bye-bye. But he's right. So we've got to understand that too. But we just can't resist that change too much. We've got to be open to it and hear the cries of the people and what their needs are, and see those young people and see those Generation X and Ys and millennials and say, how can we touch them? How can we help them? How can we, show them that God's alive, Because I know, and honestly, there are people that come to our church and say, that wasn't very lively, that was, because they don't really understand sometimes what we're doing there, but it's just not up and drums and everything all the time, and the beat, and it's dark, and it's like a nightclub setting, and this sort of thing. I'm not ready to go there, and I don't think you are too. You want to keep it open, worshipful, liturgy, good preaching, good music, but that doesn't mean you can't vary the music. Of course you can. In fact, what I've read the last 10 years are the only churches in United Methodism who are growing are those who are blending their service. And that's hard to... Blending is... If you don't blend it well, you lose the traditional people and you lose the younger people too. It's really got to be done very well. And I know y'all have tried this year, and it's been sort of difficult at times. But anyway, it's time to go beyond the walls, courage to change and take a fall, daring to risk and shout to all, God is alive. Now, I really want to get to this and open it up for some discussion. It's time to follow faithfully, being the church that we can be. Witness and live so all can see God's alive. You join the church with prayers, presence, gifts, and service, right? Remember our vows? Prayers, presence, gifts, service. And then a few years ago, we added witness to it. And I'm glad we did. Because it's a way of also adding evangelism to it. Because every year we would go to conference, and a part of conference was always some guy stood up and read statistics. Joe, do you ever remember reading statistics at conference about how much we've gained and all this stuff? And everybody looked forward to it, because there was that period in time, like by St. Luke's back in there, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. Oh, we're reading how many are coming now, and all of a sudden they had to say, we didn't gain any members this year. And then next year, no members. And do you realize we're beginning our sixth decade, 50 some odd years of hearing a report that we have lost members. We have declined. Now, all right, let me give you some good news before it sounds so sad. That's America. Actually, in the world, we gain members. We've gained a few in Europe. We've gained quite a few in Philippines. Where's my Philippine friend? Oh, you're Filipino. We've gained there, and we've gained in Africa. And so we have actually gained members worldwide. And so that's the good news. We're growing. But in our country, we are declining. I know this needs to be a church, a community church, or just an independent church on every corner and that sort of thing. But I don't know about you, I'm proud of being United Methodist. I think we have a good church, and we have such a solid theology. That there's no reason why we can't attract people. Because the gospel is attractive. It attracts people. if it's lived out, if it's preached out, if it's sung out, it attracts people. Prayers, presence, gifts, service, witness. Witness and live so all can see. Comments. Any comments on, talk to me a little bit. Does the idea of, what does evangelism sound like to you? Is it scary that means I have to go out and invite somebody, right? How do you, is that the way it sounds to you? And that's a little bit pushy, or what are we talking about? Witnessing. Help me out here. You got any feelings on it? You know it's not old-fashioned, because we're not old-fashioned anymore. We're not. Does Joseph preach fire and brimstone? Huh?
No.
You give him a little fire and brimstone? Joseph?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Unfortunately, I would say sometimes some bad things have happened as a result of evangelism. And that's where people get the connotation that evangelism is not. Then I say, oh my gosh, these are evangelists, I want to get away from them.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe it's not that we have to change the word evangelism, but look into it. Are we doing or preaching or talking about the word of God, saying we need to spread peace, love, and justice to all people? And because this is how it should be. And when they say all people, they mean all people and not exclude color, race, or whatever. And I think that's unfortunately, put the bad image on it, the word evangelism. And why you say, some people are scared of it.
It does have a
Like I
comment.
told you earlier, we had this conference yesterday at your place.
Yeah.
And the word came up quite often.
Oh, it did.
Oh, absolutely. But
She was at Coburn Place yesterday, where I live. So it has that bad little connotation. Is it the TV guys or gals? Is it some of that goes on that scares you a little bit?
some of the ministers, when they believe strongly in evangelism for certain people, this is just for us. You people of different color, of different race, of different religions, you're out. And that's what distracts other people, distracts the younger generation as well.
You have also some people that make a name for themselves by being prosperity evangelists.
Yes.
That people see more than they do the Methodist Church, for example. They see people that are preaching about, they're looking at all the places in the Bible where God is talking about a promise to you rather than what you have to do for other people and for the world. And our church, feel that the Methodist Church really preached about justice and about being an active witness in the world. And a servant. And, I think that's where, really where our witness is and where our witness needs to be.
I agree, yes.
When I think of evangelism, when you're just talking, it just seems like they want you to believe exactly as they believe. You can't stray anywhere at all, or you're. And I've gone to churches where, immediately they're like, oh, we're going to see you next week, and because you can't go to another church and you won't, otherwise you're going to go to hell. It's the connotation I get. And I don't know. And then you see the people on TV and the preachers and the politicians. So it's kind of a hard word for me.
My name's Jimmy. And I think in our society today, there's some embarrassment about saying you go to church and you believe in God and Jesus. There's a little bit of embarrassment in our society today, I think. And when Dr. Choi announced that you were coming, and he said, excuse me, he said, it's a good time to invite some people. Well, I live in a townhouse and I don't know very many of my people. I say hi to everybody, but well, one night I was coming home and this man was working in his garage building a basketball net, and it took me back to my kids. They had the best backstop in town. And I stopped and chatted with him, and I invited him to come here today. It came to my mind, this is a good time to invite somebody. And then I've been in India, and I've been in Salt Lake City, and I've been all over, and I didn't go back and reinforce the date. So last night, I'm out there with a flashlight, seeing if they're home. They're not home. They did not come home at all last night. They have 2 little kids, and they were traveling, I guess. And I felt really bad that I had let them down, but then I thought, that's okay, Jenny, they're out of town anyway. They didn't come home all night. But that was a big step for me to go and actually invite them, you know, to come to church. So what I'm going to do to make that all better is I'm going to go there and tell them to turn on the internet and watch.
Okay.
So, yeah, the live stream. So maybe it'll be okay after all. I won't feel so bad that I failed.
Well, that is a great ministry you have when you put it out there on the internet like that.
Yeah.
Attract people. That's great. I'm glad you're using the media. We don't do that so well in our churches like we should.
Yeah. And I was really happy in talking to this young guy that his kids came to our preschool. So I thought, oh good, he knows where the place is. You know? Anyway, so I will remind them and see if that'll work. To turn on the internet.
But it's also, yeah, go on, then.
No, go ahead.
No, you go on.
I'm listening to you all, and as you're saying, the word scared you. Can you imagine what it was like for me when Kimball said, he calls me Pumpkin a lot. He says, Pumpkin, you know, I need to talk to you. He said, I've been feeling this call. And I'm not hearing verses, but I'm looking around and I see the needs. And I'm looking around, and you see all these television evangelists on. And they're nowhere near our theology. You know, it's not a full gospel. I just feel like, where is the mainline church today? You know, we need to be out there also. And so he talked to some of his friends, and then they all agreed, yes, we do need to be out there. And then he talked to our DS and our bishop. Yes, we do, but we don't do that. We don't do that in our church today. And so he says to me, so I don't know how we're going to do it, but I just feel God calling me, and I want to lead the parish into evangelism. And I went, you know, it's just like, I couldn't get the word out, you know, and it was just like, well, God called you, but I don't know if God's calling me. You know, I don't wear makeup, and I don't wear my hair up in curls, you know. I'm not for television, you know, and so I did. I thought about it, and I prayed about it, and we prayed about it together. We talked to our children together about it, and they all, you know, one's in college, one's in high school, one's in junior high, one's in elementary school. We talked to them all. It will be a very simple lifestyle. We've always lived a simple lifestyle, but it's going to be even more so. Because we don't know what's happening. And they all say, Dad, you became a pastor, and we all supported you through seminary in our own little ways. And we'll do this. We'll work together as this, the family. And for those who hear this music, these are our children playing with their dad. And one records them, you know. And so it's a family affair, but 38 years now means something. And I think that I feel it as a call for all of us, not just for Kimball and not for me, just for me. God's calling us all at this point. He needs us. Look at the world, he needs us, you know. So, I'm sorry, interrupted you, but I just wanted to.
That's nice, of course, but the call is for everybody, you know that.
That's right.
It's not just to go quit work and go to seminary, and, you know, I always feel silly, and they say, well, Kimball, you just stopped living life and went over there and went to school and got to read the Bible every day. You know, it almost sounds like that. Everybody can't do that. You know, they've got life. And you've got vocations. You have calling. That's what vocare means, to call. And so you have vocations and you have callings and you have, you're a witness and you're praying, you're giving, you're serving, all those things you made the vows to do. But I guess I wanted this session to push us a little bit into the witnessing. I want to see. I'm buying that Northridge has something special going on here, you know?
Yeah.
Because I just want to see you grow, you know, and not that you don't have a nice church, but I saw a few seats available this morning, you know? You got room for more, and you're nice people. I just want to encourage you in that. That's why I had this little session for you to try to say, you know, you can do this. I know you can. You've got good leadership. You so much good going on here. And after Karen got and made all those announcements, wow, do you have activities or what? Fellowships, and tonight you got a jazz thing. You're talking about blending the music and the services. You know, that could attract some people that might be a little afraid of Sunday morning, don't you think? Mm-hmm. Have you had any luck with that, Joseph? Anybody want to talk about? Has that brought in a few folks that you don't see on Sunday morning or afraid of the formal worship thing? Uh-huh.
There's been a few people who have joined the church after going to the jazz, and then they check out the services also.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and we have, it's interesting because there's a lot of people that come to the jazz that pick up flyers for the other events
Yeah.
and come to the movies that we have on the Monday. Is it the Monday after Jazz Vespers? Usually, and show up for the movie that we have about social issues. So, and they're getting interested in doing other things with the church.
Yeah.
You do know we used to have 2 services, right?
Well, I guess maybe, I'm not sure. But
Okay.
did you?
We only this year stopped 2 services. We had 2 services, and I don't know for how many years. But the 9 o'clock service was this type of traditional service. The 11 o'clock service was a band of, younger people. The choir did not sing. It was more more casual, more evangelical, basically, okay? It wasn't my cup of tea, but I went to the 9 o'clock because I wanted the traditional service. There was talk about blending those 2 things, having the band and the traditional and the choir and all in one service. But that went away. Financially, that was not a good move. So I don't know if, and only Joseph can tell us this, when we went from the 2 services, Joseph, where we had the band and all the rootin' tootin' and people putting their arms up and all that, which is foreign to me, did we have a younger crowd at that service, and did we lose them when we stopped that service?
Well, actually, 11 o'clock service, we didn't really attract new young people. I think that's what became.
No, I'm asking you, did we have more or did we lose the young people, or did we not have the young people that came to that second service?
Well, few, I believe.
We lost some.
Yeah.
Yes.
But we attracted new people actually with the combined service that we are doing right now. So there was give and take.
Yeah.
So that didn't exactly work as like you
No,
thought it
I
was.
don't see it as combined. But we don't, the only service, only service we have now is a traditional service.
Right.
We've completely gotten rid of the service that we had at 11 o'clock. And we were doing an experiment for for like a year or so, where we were doing a lot more music and less of some other things, which also involved a great band group of singers also. We had great songs. So, and it was just a different way of worship.
Yes.
And we've had different ways of worship going back a long way, where we started having a alternative worship service, and it met on Sunday nights. And then starting the Jazz Vespers was another idea. We also had, for a while, a Taizé service. So we've experimented with different services and trying different ways of outreach in the church. But I do think that, it's always good to try new things, even if, like you say, in one of the lines here, that you may fall.
Yes, you.
Well, I guess the elephant in the room is that we live in a very secular society today, more so than ever before. And it's in our school systems, it's, the children. I'm very proud of this church and all the different outreaches. I was going to mention the jazz, bringing different peoples of different interests, of different kinds of music in. Our choir has programs throughout the year where you bring people to concerts at night. The preschool and all that they do and bringing people into our church. There's so many different things, but it's like I really was disappointed when they did away with the 11 o'clock service because secular, my grandson skated hockey on Sundays. At 9 o'clock, I could go to the service and still go to a hockey game. Now I have to choose whether I come to church at 10 or go to a hockey game. So I'm just one example of, all of society.
Yeah.
But it was a real disappointment to me that when we changed to just the one service at 10.
And see, to me, it didn't make any difference, because I liked the traditional service.
Well,
So
I love
I
it.
wasn't losing anything. And so we come to church at 10 instead of 9 and 11. But I don't remember, when I first joined this church in 1974, I am quite sure we only had one service. We didn't have two services. I never knew that at all until I came back to the church. And if the second service brought in a huge crowd of young people who were going to support the church in every way, then I would say, hey, we just lost something. But I don't think that happened. I think it's still the older group that are doing everything. And so I think we made the decision, and it was not just a logistical decision, it was a financial decision. So I'm happy we're now one service, but I really am curious if we lost young people and if we lost that many. And nobody seems to be able to answer that question.
I think that the second service didn't just appeal to young people. And there's some people that came at 9 o'clock that were young. It wasn't necessarily always based on the type of service. It was also, like you were saying, based on the time.
The time.
And it was based on the needs. And also, some people that were older liked the music at 11 o'clock and they liked the service at 11 o'clock. It was just a little bit different. What we did at 11 was, we kind of looked at 11 o'clock as, we'll experiment with different ways of having a service. At 9 o'clock, you couldn't really experiment. You were in a certain path. So that's the only thing, is we got to do some experimenting.
Yes.
I really miss the second service. This summer we had, the choir was off and we had other music, and that's been the best for me. I wish we could do that more often. I've had contemporary music since I was a kid, And so I'm not really familiar with a lot of the choir stuff. And I just like contemporary music. And I can have some choir stuff, but I think we should also have some contemporary. And when we move them together, we've lost several of the singers who used to come. I just think we need to be more aware that other people worship in different ways. And we can have both types of music at the one service if we're going to have one service.
Well, yes.
Now, I was coming from the point like Jenny was saying, where you said, which one is stronger, the urge to grow or resistance to change?
Mm-hmm.
Because I try to tell, especially like my husband has a large family. And I try and tell them, why don't you come to Jazz Vespers or you come to this food thing? And like you said, they're embarrassed to say that they don't like to worship going into a traditional setting of the church with the walls. And so they just don't go to church. They worship in their own way. But if I present it to them like, I'll say, why don't you come to Jazz Vespers? Well, I really don't go to church. Well, it's not a church thing. We're gonna listen to the music and it's part of the Lord, but it's not. I'm not trying to recruit you or something. So they won't feel so embarrassed. But if I like that they just have the 10 o'clock service and they still try to keep some of the contemporary music to draw in more younger people. But I think it's getting people to change and not let them feel like these millennials, let them feel like, oh, we're trying to recruit you or
Proselytize.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think my job is to present it to them so they'll want to come. And then, like you said, if they come to Jazz Vespers, they might get the program and say, oh, I want to bring my kids to this thing, or I want to go on the old timers thing.
And I just want to say, from a perspective of United Methodist Women, that we have the same issue in United Methodist Women. And one of the things that we're doing is really focusing on young people and the legacy, like two things, the legacy and the future. And focusing on legacy and limitless. And really trying to embrace young people. And one of the ways also that young people come into church and also coming to UMW is they're brought along by their moms or they're brought along by their dads. And when they're brought along with their moms and they're doing something that's, say a social justice work, or you're putting kids together, or you're doing something where you're out at North Valley Caring Services giving out Christmas gifts to kids, then they're seeing a different aspect of the church. And they're saying, this may be something where I can fit. And it may not be church, but it may be, I'm going out and I'm doing this work in the world. And as that brings me in, then that may be a back door into church.
Yes.
Hi, my brother was a pilot for 40 years, and then he had the calling, and he went back to university and became a preacher. He lives in San Bernardino in a rather impoverished area, and he has a bus and a driver, and they go out and pick up some of these people who have no other way to get to church on Sunday morning. Another thing that I noticed there, one Saturday we were going out to visit, and he said, yeah, fine, meet you at the restaurant. And then he called me back, he said, I forgot that's the Sunday that I invite the church members. Okay, we'll meet you at the restaurant. And I got to meet all these people who he takes out to breakfast once a month, he does that. And it is a very impoverished area, so there's not a lot of money, in the building or anything. But he has a good following, and I feel so grateful that my brother is doing a thing like that, and I support him.
It should be. Yeah. Yeah,
As an evangelist, you don't normally go to people's churches. Where do you go?
Oh, you mean on the, like.
When you're on the
pastor?
road, when you and your wife are on the road,
Yeah,
who are you
We go-
preaching to?
to the churches, yeah. Mostly,
Oh,
yeah, because we've been, it was 38 years.
I'm
so-
misunderstanding. I thought-
No, I travel to the churches and we have, sometimes 3-day events, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and
So you-
sometimes it's just Sunday.
So you're going to different churches?
Yeah, yeah.
But I always thought that evangelists were pastors who traveled on the road to people who didn't have churches. Okay.
Well, because I'm in the United Methodist Church. But I tried to reach out. For 2 years, I was on the radio and trying to reach out to everybody. And I was preaching good news to the poor from Century City, the most expensive real estate in the country.
The
I felt,
poor?
yeah, I used to take my little cassette tape up to the station, up in one of those tall buildings, and everybody said, "Oh, Kimball, how much do they pay you to be on the radio?" He says, "You don't understand, I paid them to be on the radio." So I was trying to reach out, but they had their escape right, they had a good following here, they had a good listening audience even in San Diego. But, I was always squeezed between, who's.
Well, I misunderstood.
Very,
I
very
misunderstood what
conservative.
evangelist was.
Very conservative programs like that, because we don't.
Our predominance media often mock Christians as well,
Yeah.
and that young people are hearing that.
And that's why he didn't want to be like that. He wanted to be different.
Yeah, I just thought we need to present the way we do things, You hear the way other people are doing so much, and I just think, if I was just dropped here from Mars and I grew up and I didn't go to a local church, I wouldn't know about church the way I do if I just listened on TV and heard what they had to say. So you play an important role, and your witness, I know we need to close this, but your witness is so important, And I'm glad you're willing to say, I like the first, I didn't like, and I know Joseph hears this, and we, if we can help, or I can help, and I told Pastor in Claremont when he came a couple of years ago, and if you want to try to blend the service, I'd be glad to help you, because it's tough. If you're not gonna, you're not gonna please everybody, so it's got to be done just right, and you got to sing a couple of wonderful good old hymns that I don't want to give up either, but throw in some different stuff, and get, this morning, next time I come, I will, if you want me to, try to bring something like that to a service. Just if we ever want to try, just don't say it's going to, this is not the way it's going to be every Sunday, Joseph, but if you ever want to try, just say, we're going to try a blended service and see how it's, taken on. But, now see, I've got to go back. I've got to look Joseph in the eye and Esther and everybody and say, well, if you're going to do that, it takes more, we're talking money, folks.
that's
We're
money.
talking
Yes.
budget problems.
That's
This-
exactly.
No, I understand this completely, and it's not so easy. And if you think, well, get a volunteer of teenagers to be a garage, well, that's good, and get the teenagers up there and do it if people love them. But every Sunday, you can't have a garage band. You got to have musicians who know what they're doing and play well, like the guys who play on my records and help me. They're very good musicians, and when I call them, they're always willing to help.
If
Yeah.
you read Christianity Today, you'll find out that the single most divisive issue in churches today
Is music is
trying to blend service.
trying to blend the service. Okay. Well, let me just, I read, but I can see that's true, but I'm hearing that most of our churches that are growing, now if you have two services, that's different, but most of us have one. That's the only ones that are tending to grow, but I hear you say, that's what I'm trying to say. Maybe you don't want to mess with that, because it just gets difficult, and
I think it'd be different if we had, when I first went to church, everybody volunteered. You didn't pay anybody to be the organist.
No.
You didn't pay anybody to play the piano. You didn't pay anybody to conduct the choir.
Sunday school teachers?
no, sure.
Sunday school teachers.
I served at a little church on the border of Tennessee, Kentucky, with the organist, choir director, and everything. It was just, nobody was paying.
No, and now we have to pay people.
Well, thank you all for coming, and let's grab a hand and have a prayer together before we go.
Come on, Danielle. We're gonna expand the circle a little bit there. There we go.
Oh.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this time together, and we're trying, Lord. You can see we're trying. We just want to be witnesses. We want to put the gospel out there in a way that's so attractive that people understand, I need that for my life, and I want to be a part of this fellowship. Now, luckily we have other than United Methodist churches, and we have a variety of United Methodist churches. So we have a choice, and they should have a choice. But help us here at Northridge be the best we can be and truly witness, attest to our faith and the truth that we find in you. So bless Joseph and Karen and all the staff here and all the lay leadership that's in this room as we work to build your kingdom and to bring people inside the circle of the church. In Christ's name we pray.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you for coming.
I know what-
Yeah, well,
Was that